everything under the living room. And what else? Let's just talk.
It's under the living room. The easiest thing, if you want to follow, is going to be a QR code on the back of these or on the back of my cards. And then you just snap it and it takes you. Because to be honest with you, I can't tell you what it's all under. The living room is the name of my senior home care agency. And so we kind of stole and hijacked my that agency's social media and started doing the training. My training platform is more than Heart, family and caregiver training. And the reason why it got its name is, as a family member, you have the heart to go in and do what you do. But it takes more than heart to understand, because the heart's going to get you frustrated. It's going to keep you battling in your head about how to manage these things. And then it takes a little bit more. It takes some understanding of how the person's acting, what they're doing, what they're saying, why they're doing, why they're saying. And then some of the skills that professional caregivers get. So that's how it got its name.
Awesome. Sam's been here in Iowa this week. So Thursday night at the library, we had one of our senior seminars, and it was very well attended and great information. She will answer any questions. She loves to answer questions. She loves anything that you can throw at her, just give it to her. So what else do I want to say?
I don't know.
She's authored 3 books. We're going to have giveaways today on the books. So, since there's not as many people here, you guys have a really good shot.
You have a really good shot.
You want to go out buy a lottery ticket later? That's on you. Anyway, so I winged it enough, embarrassed myself enough. So Sam Cradduck, people of North Iowa, here you go.
Thank you so much. So, thank you. One thing we do know is Jane Fisher could never really embarrass herself. She's an amazing human being, and thank you for inviting me to come and share. I know the crowd size obviously isn't as big as anybody would ever want when they're going to come teach and share, but what I do know is people that show up always get value. So at the end of the day, you being here, I appreciate. So thank you very much. I had no idea what I was going to talk about until I start seeing what the room crowd is, right? And so I think at the library we talked about a bunch of stuff. We'll probably say some of those things again. But we're going to talk about that big surprise that I talked about the other day. That's the PowerPoint that's going to bounce behind me. But more than anything, what I want to know is, what do you guys want to talk about? And so we'll dig into that. So feel free to stop and ask questions. Say, hey, shut up for a minute. Why is this happening? Why is my loved one going through this? Why am I going through this? Why does it itch? Biggest question we hear. Why does it itch? Well, there's some reasons, and there's some things that nobody will ever know. What I do know in all that I do is our medical field is poorly equipped to manage our aged population, and that's sad. Our medical community does not have the training in the background and the understanding of what's going on in the human body as it continues to age into advanced years, because that's not what they've trained on. You look and at our medical community, less than 1% go into geriatrics. Why? Cardiology pays more. Honestly. And if you're going to go into debt, a couple $100,000 on student loans, you best be looking for the best, most lucrative place to pay off. So neurology is going to come in a little bit deeper than gerontology and geriatric care. So we don't have people specializing, and we need to start doing that. And I think we now have a movement to truly start teaching our medical community more about what I learned about and what I teach on. And that's what my hope is. I actually got invited, so we'll see if this is going to be like a one-time gig and I'll get to do it more, or I'll get to do it more. I got invited to teach in Virginia at a medical conference in front of the doctors. Believe it or not, I get to go be the idiot in front of them. So that's what I do. I know that, many in the room today, you're advancing in your age. The reality is, 60, 70 years ago, you weren't expected to live as long as you do now. Think about that. When they started Social Security, why did they say retirement age was 62? Because that was the average age. That was when people were passing away. So they weren't expecting medical advancements and health advancements to extend life the way it has. And it's not just medical advancements that happen. Back then, you worked a heck of a lot harder. You wore your bodies out a lot quicker. You know, it's like driving a car. If you put 300,000 miles on it, it's going to pass out. If it sits in the garage half the time because it's at a desk working now, then it's going to last a little longer, right? And that's what the human bodies are doing. We're extending ourselves because technology and the change in the workforce have allowed us to do that. People don't work like they used to. You know, we used to be an industrial community and a farming community, right? That's what everybody made their living. And then we went to service. When we went to service, we stopped that physical labor as hard. So we stopped wearing our bodies out. Does that make sense? So now what we're doing is we're living into these extended and advanced years, and we're seeing different disease progressions. Dementia existed back then too, folks. It really did. We just didn't live long enough to see it to its full fruition unless it was an earlier onset. So now what we're seeing is people living into advanced 80s and 90s, and we have dementia coming in more prevalently, right?
So you think that dementia is, it's just, we have so much more of it because people are just living longer, we didn't see it before.
I think there is part of that, absolutely. So, yes, ma'am.
Well, didn't we have less dementia because we were eating healthier? People were eating food farm to table, and we were eating all these preservatives.
That's right too. So we weren't putting as many toxins into our body. We weren't causing our body to have to react to all of those things. You know, the reality is we don't really always know what's causing dementia. We don't know what causes Alzheimer's. We know what causes alcohol-induced dementia, and we had it then. We had alcoholics back then. We just called them senile, right? We use words that we don't use anymore because they weren't nice then and they're not nice now. So that's the way it rolled. But yes, I think we see more diseases now because we are living into our advanced years. We know that there's what we call normal aging cognitive decline. Normal aging cognitive decline is, you know what, I had a senior moment. It's not Alzheimer's, it's sometimers, right? So it's not all the time, but sometimes I'm just forgetful, and that's because things don't work quite as well as they used to. Cells don't replicate as fast as they used to as we age, and we do know that. That's inherent in DNA. Inherent in your DNA, the body blocks, everything that builds, is your cells don't replicate as fast as they once did. It's why your skin suffers more now than it did when you were young. It's why you wrinkle now when you didn't when you were 25. And that's cells that don't replicate collagen that's not there. So we know those things happen as we age. So why would we not go, okay, we're going to have more cognitive decline as we age. We're going to have more cases of cancer as we age. That's a fact. We see it statistically. And I hate causation and statistics because they can be skewed so often. But yes, I do agree very much that a lot of what we have that goes on today is environmentally induced. Absolutely. Had we cared as much as the Native Americans did, as much as the Indians did about our country and our world and our environment, then we would be in a much different place. But we cared about making money. We spent more time making money than we did preserving what was in front of us. And we're paying the price for it now. And our grandkids and great-grandkids are going to pay a bigger price because of what we've done.
I'm sorry if I zoned out at the beginning, but what is your background? Are you a doctor?
I'm a gerontologist, so no, I'm not an MD. My studies are in geriatrics, so I studied the social, physical, spiritual, emotional aspects of aging. I also have a psychology degree. I'm an assisted living administrator, licensed assisted living administrator, licensed home care administrator as well. So that's where my background is, and I've spent 30 plus years in the field working from ground up as a caregiver into administration and now into teaching. So yeah, I don't think we shared that. Jane and I just kind of both said, hey, here I am. So that's my background. I'm not a medical doctor. Huh? Here she is. So no, I'm not a medical doctor in the sense of medical doctors. I work in the medical field alongside. I'm a senior case manager as well. So there's a lot of just certifications. And I always tell people that's just a bunch of titles that make somebody sound like they're good. I'm just me. And I'm going to get up here and I'm going to talk to you like you're you. I'm not better than anybody else in the room. I just know what I know, and I'm hoping to impart some information and wisdom into you in doing so.
Yeah, well, you've done your research, like people have asked me if I'm a doctor, and I said, no, I just have done some research.
Yeah, it's, sometimes if you've done your research, you will know that you come up with answers better than they do. You can solve the problem quicker than they can. I mean, it's a fact. They look at numbers, and sometimes we look at the whole great picture. And the worst thing that ever happened to our medical community was when we specialized care. When we said, I'm a cardiologist, I'm a nephrologist, I'm a neurologist, and I'm a pulmonologist. And what I'm going to do might trash your heart, but that's not my problem. When we got rid of the GPs and the old doctors that used to come in, that's when we messed medicine up. Because we stopped treating an entire human being as a whole person. We stopped looking at the entire system, and we started looking at our piece of part. Well, if my heart's not working right, does it matter how good my kidneys are? I mean, and vice versa. If I have bad lungs, thanks for saving my kidneys, but they're going to die off anyway. Let's save me. Let's do what you can to help me. So the presentation we have up, which will mean nothing at the end of the day, I promise, is called The Big Surprise. I said it the other night when I was teaching at the library. We're all shocked when we look in the mirror and we're old. Why? Why? I knew I was aging when I was this big. But when I got to be this big, I thought I was going to stop. And I said it the other day, I'm now the same age my grandmother was when she was old. Right? Right? I just don't wear the same muumuu that she used to wear. And that makes me look younger. That's all it is. It's not that I am younger, it just makes me look younger. We know that we're aging healthier. We know, even with all the preservatives, with the not having the farm to table, with all the steroids that get injected into those chicken breasts that look like wow when they hit your plate, we know that we're still aging healthier than we did back then. And why? Why? That's a really good question. Why are we advancing in years when we're putting all this junk into our bodies? But we are. Look around the room. How I'm guessing we got people in our 80s. Am I wrong? Yeah? We got 99? We have 99 in the room today. Woohoo! So in 99, that was literally almost unheard of. And yet, we have a friend, a colleague, whose mom turned 106 this week and still lives by herself.
Oh my goodness.
Still lives independently by herself. Yeah, right? I'm not sure I can do that at 56, let alone 106. So I'm not that independent, but she does. So we know we're living longer, so we're going to see more of the things that we're going to talk about. Dementia is scary, folks. And I know that's probably where we're going to land today, talking about the most. That is what my specialty of study was in cognitive decline and dementia. So let's see what comes up on this thing. No matter how hard we try it, no matter how much we think, we have I think it's like 70 billion or some, it might even have a different number on it, a zero on there, industry for anti-aging. There's anti-aging cream, anti-aging lights, anti-aging this, anti-aging that. You can get this lifted, that lifted, this done. You can do everything you want to keep from aging. And guess what happens? Clock keeps ticking. You cannot hold those hands back no matter how hard you try. So there's not, think about why Florida got found. Ponce de Leon went off looking for this thing called the Fountain of Youth, and he found Florida. And now it's a retirement community full of a bunch of older people. Think about that. It's kind of a oxymoron there, right? So there isn't a fountain of youth. You don't get to dip in the water and come out looking 50 years younger. And I wouldn't care if I looked 50 years younger if I just felt 20 years younger, you know? That's all I'm after. So there isn't a fountain of youth. We're all going to age. We need to, number one, learn how to do it, but learn what's truly happening when it does. We got to be able to talk about it and be real and think about it in this, okay, I'm not telling you to give up. That's absolutely not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to learn how to age and understand. Why does it itch? Well, because honestly, your skin cells don't hold as much moisture as you age as they did when you were younger. Your collagen gets depleted, and so things dry out more. You're not inherently as thirsty as you used to be, so your skin's drier. That's one of the biggest reasons. Let's see. Why do we wrinkle? We've talked about it already. It just happens, folks. It doesn't happen to the young people. Unless you're like me and you stay fat enough so it pushes the wrinkles away. And then you don't wrinkle as bad. So, see, there is a method to my madness. So, we're going to get into this one. I'm telling you, it's going to show up in every presentation I ever do the rest of my life. It is my favorite topic, as you might, if you were at the library, you know. My favorite topic to talk about is peeing your pants. It really is. And the reason why I like to talk about it is because I have seen the damage that it'll do. I have literally seen people pass away because they're embarrassed over talking about this topic. Die. End of life issues. Because this right here isn't something we can talk about as a community. Why not? I have my protection on today and my proof of it. I do. And I'm not 99. And yes, it's embarrassing to stand up and tell people, yeah, I have an issue. If I run, jump, lift, I'm going to leak. It's a fact. I had a hysterectomy 20-some years ago. What's the uterus used for inside the woman's body? To hold the bladder up. It's her house. Guess what? You take the house away. That's what the bladder does inside there. They can go in, they can give it a little sling. They can tell it can stay up there. That lasted about 10 years. Well, my hysterectomy was 20 years ago. What's my bladder doing now? Bank, bank, bank. I mean, seriously, it's like a yo-yo. And so what happens to the urine inside? It does what gravity does. And when we don't talk about it, we don't protect ourselves. We try and hide it. We're embarrassed by it. We cause all kinds of skin issues. You might not smell it, but I promise you there is a smell. There's an odor that goes along with it that will eventually affect your lungs because you're not recognizing it. It causes the skin to break down. And then it causes urinary tract infections. Urinary tract infections cause a plethora of issues, including death. I've had 2 women that I know that went septic and died simply because they weren't changing their briefs and their protection frequently enough. And I get the cost is extraordinary. But they weren't changing and protecting themselves well enough. And they got this bacteria that absolutely ended up causing a sepsis situation, and they passed away. And their families were devastated. The sad reality is it was one family. Two separate moms. So I watched the son lose his mom, and I watched the daughter lose her mom. And it's like they were a married couple. So it's crazy that this can happen in our country. But it does. I mean, I get it if we were in a third world country and we didn't have things to protect ourselves and we didn't want to, we didn't know how to do this. But we have all kinds of stuff. So you have to think about if this is an issue for you, and I'm not going to survey the room. We don't have to be that honest today. I'm the only one that has to come out and tell people, yes, I pee my pants. And it's not a lot. It's not, unless I play softball. And then the pad gets bigger. But that's a different story for a different day. If that's an issue, by all means, change regularly. Don't think, oh, it was just a little leak. It's just a little wet. It'll dry out. It will. And it will pull that away from your skin, which saves your skin. And I appreciate that about the protection that we wear. But what's there? Bacteria. And what's it doing? Yes, ma'am.
Aren't UTIs a big driver of dementia symptoms as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, they are. So any infection, but especially UTIs, because UTIs are so prevalent, are a huge driver of dementia symptoms. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a caregiver for my husband.
Okay.
He is on depends.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I think, I don't think this is wet enough, I'll wait till it's really soaked. But you're saying I need to do it when I feel it's wet.
Yes, ma'am. Because what happens is if your kidneys are working normal, because if you understand the physiology of what goes on inside the body, kidneys are filters, okay? So they filter out impurities, right? So it's why on a survivalist mode, you can actually drink your urine. Don't ask me to go into that survivalist mode. But there is a reality that when it first comes out, there is a purity to it. But then it starts to grow bacteria. If you have any kind of infection, it's spitting bacteria, right? And so when it's there, there's not a check valve is something that keeps fluid from going backwards, right? There's no check valve in a urethra. A urethra is just a tube. Whether it's a male or a female, it's just a tube that's running from the bladder down and out, whatever source that it's coming out of, right? So that doesn't have anything that prevents backflow. So when you've got that tube sitting on top of the urine-filled brief or just the lightly wet brief, and bacteria starts to grow, it's going to find its way back in. It's like having an open wound and putting dirt on it. Are you going to do that? No. Are you going to have an open wound and pee on it? I cut my arm, so I'm just going to have it's just a little bit of pee. It won't bother anything, right? Think about that. It's a little bit of urine, but it now has an avenue to get inside the body with a bacteria that can cause an infection. So that's what happens with a UTI. The other biggest cause of a UTI is the biggest bacteria is actually E. coli, which comes from a bowel movement. And so we're not cleaning ourselves well enough. And I think in here there's a picture. We'll get there. But so UTIs are caused from lots and lots and lots of times not drinking enough. So is confusion, dehydration, low blood pressures. When we're not drinking and we're not hydrating, we're causing all kinds of issues, all kinds of problems, and you're not as thirsty as you once were. But one of the biggest reasons why you stop drinking, why do you think most people drink less as they get older and into advanced years? There you go. Well, they don't want to have to pee again. Because guess what? I'm sitting in my chair. And if I sit in my chair and I drink a bottle of water, I'm going to have to get up and go to the bathroom. If I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I got to first off stand up. Oh my gosh. Oh, my back hurts. I'm going to take that step. My hips hurt. My knees hurt. My ankles hurt. Right now, if it bends, it hurts. And if I'm sitting down, it doesn't hurt quite so bad. And there's not any one of us that wants to make ourselves hurt more. So what we'll do is we'll sit there and we'll think, I'm not going to drink anything because, and it starts off conscious. I'm not going to drink because I don't want to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to drink after 6 p.m. because I don't want to pee at night. And we're doing the most unhealthy thing we can do for ourselves. We're literally letting our bodies beg for a drink. And we're denying it of what it needs. And then you know what happens? No different than a wife waiting for a husband to take out the trash. We give up and we just don't ask anymore. So the body will quit asking for what it needs if it's not ever going to get it. And so then you're not feeling thirsty at all. So then you just sit there and you don't drink because you're not even thinking about it anymore. It starts off small and then it turns into this big, big, big thing where now you're not hydrating any or enough. And now your blood pressures are dropping. You're having headaches. Well, now I don't even feel the headaches anymore because my body's trying to adjust to what I'm not giving it. But it's slowly but surely taking you out. The best medicine you can ever have is a bottle of water. Honestly.
So what is a good solution to help incorporate that when somebody is stubborn and
Doesn't want to drink.
doesn't want to drink?
So we do see that. We see it a lot. One of my big things is use a straw, because you will find out that, and I keep going in front of your camera, Jane, I'm so sorry. I gotta stay back here. One of the things that you will find is if you watch anybody drink, they drink more with a straw usually than they do without. So start off with a straw. These cups that everybody has now that have the straws in them, they're absolutely amazing. And especially if they're not see-through. If I'm not seeing how much I'm drinking, I'm not monitoring how much I'm drinking, I'm not paying that much attention, I will drink more. I know that sounds really odd, but it really does help. If you're not looking at it, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I already drank half of that cup. I'm going to have to pee all night long, and I don't want to have to get up. You don't realize it until you're sucking the bottom of the cup, right? So try that. If that's not working, eat your hydration. Fruit. Fruit is amazing for hydrating without you even realizing that you're doing it. Okay? Those are just a couple suggestions that really can help. A lot of people will say, well, I hate water. And then doctors will say, well, don't let them have coffee and tea because it has a diuretic in it. Okay, well, they're either going to drink coffee and tea or nothing.
Yeah.
What are you going to give them? Coffee and tea. I get that it has a diuretic. But wouldn't you rather have something than nothing? And I've never quite understood that mindset. Well, don't let them have coffee and tea. Well, they're not going to drink water. Well, they need to. Okay. And you need to be nicer, but we're not fixing that today. So let's allow them to have what they want. That's the other thing that drives me nuts is when we have medical staff and caregivers and people that come in and say, well, they can't do that. Why can't they? Well, it's not good for them. Okay. And overeating's not good for you. Smoking's not good for you. Drinking's not good for you. And you get to do it. You're an adult. You get to make bad decisions. Our aged community is adults. They get to make decisions based on their own preferences, not based on yours. Yes.
The Pedialyte or some of those Armor All, I forget what the name of those drinks, those sport drinks. Because they're flavored. Is that good to give people?
It is to a certain extent, but you can overload with some of the electrolytes and some of the sodiums. And it all depends on what you're giving and how frequently. Yeah, we want to be able to give those things. And Pedialyte better than some of the Gatorades and sports drinks. Because you got to remember, you're not out there working out. And those drinks are more designed for somebody that's sweating out their electrolytes. But if you're not intaking those minerals, yeah, it's a great source. But popsicles are another one. Yeah, popsicles are another really good way to get people to bring in fluid when they don't want to. You want 10 popsicles in a day? Okay. Yeah. All right, fine. Great. Here you go. You can have 10 popsicles today, Mom. I don't care. Does it help? Absolutely. Whatever we can do to help you hydrate, that's what we need to do. We need to think outside of the box and stop trying to think, well, if you're not drinking water, then you can't have anything. You got a bad heart. You can't have your coffee. Okay. And you're saving me for what now? Because without my coffee, I don't want to be alive. Sorry. So I'm serious. Hydrate. If you can do anything for yourself, for your skin, for your bladder, for your kidneys, for your heart, for your brain, hydrate. Hydrate, hydrate. Do, do, do. Dignity, we talked about that the other day. It's that, how many of us want to go to the bathroom in front of somebody else? We just don't. I don't mind if I pee in front of you. I can do it right here. You would be embarrassed. I wouldn't. You'd be like, really? She pees a lot. And now you understand the pad. But none of us are going to want to go in there and do that big job in front of anybody else because we all know that our poop doesn't stink. We do. And we never want anybody else to know that we smell like roses and they don't. So we want to keep them out. But caregivers and family members and unfortunately spouses, when we get into those advanced years, they'll go in and they'll tap their toe and they'll wait for us to do our big jobs. It's not going to happen. It's not. So when I take someone into a restroom that needs an assistance into a restroom, first, get rid of Arthur. First thing I'm going to do is throw a towel over their lap. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to let them know that they're safe. They're good. I'm going to leave, let them do their business. I'm going to pull the walker or the wheelchair out of their way so they don't try and get up by themselves. I am. And then I'm going to step out of the room. Or, worst case, I'm going to turn around. And I'm not going to talk. Turn around while you're sitting there trying to do your big job, and I'm talking to you about the weather. Or what do you want for dinner? Well, right now I want to exercise this demon, and I don't care about what I'm eating for dinner. Because if this doesn't come out, nothing else is going in. And shut up for a minute. Leave me alone. So don't go in and have a conversation while somebody's trying to potty. I don't know how Arthur got here, but do you guys know who Arthur is? You don't know who Arthur is? Arthritis? He is not a friend. How many of you have arthritis? No arthritis at all? You do? Okay. It hurts. That's that if it bends, it hurts, folks. That's when I get up, my back hurts, my hips hurt, my knees hurt. I played a lot of ball. There are not too many joints in my body that don't hurt, and I have an autoimmune disease to make it even worse. So I know what it's like to hurt. But I also know what it's like to stay moving in while I'm hurting. And so the best thing I can tell you is to please continue to move. Now, how many of us are happy-go-lucky and just cheerful as can be when we're in pain? We're just not. You know what? I'm a pretty easygoing person, but I can guarantee you that the people in my life will tell you when I get grumpy, it's usually because I'm hurting. Usually. I'm either stressed out to the max, which I usually am, or I'm hurting. And so we have to start giving grace to our aged community that things aren't always feeling good. And so when Arthur's taken over and we're hurting and we're having pain, we're not always going to respond in the kindest of ways. And we've got to give grace to that. We've got to give grace to ourselves, and we've got to recognize that sometimes the reactions that we have are because of this. You know, I did not realize when I was younger that some of my behavior are based upon the fact that I'm incredibly ADHD. I didn't know that. I didn't have that label. I didn't know what was causing me to be overstimulated and lash out. I didn't understand that when you came into the kitchen and you got into my space and I'm mad now, that it wasn't because you were there, it was because of something inside of me. So if you realize that pain and arthritis and just aging conditions can cause you to be a little more grumpy, maybe you can now go, it's not them, it's my hips, it's my back, it's my shoulders. And then it's honey, I'm not trying to be grumpy today. I just hurt.
Can we add exhaustion to that too?
We can add exhaustion to that. Absolutely. Honey, you're trying to take on the world, taking care of him. Of course you're exhausted. And exhaustion, let's talk about this for a minute. Exhaustion leads to a plethora of issues for you. You're more forgetful than you would be if you were resting. And then, unfortunately, lots of people will take that right there and they'll think, oh, I have dementia. No, get a good night's sleep. Take care of yourself. And I get how hard it is when you're taking care of someone else to take care of yourself. But if you don't, what's the alternative for him? And that's a hard reality to have to talk about. What happens to him if something happens to you first? And statistically, the odds aren't always in the caregiver's favor. Statistically, caregivers oftentimes pass before their loved ones because they're taking on all of this extra in the midst of grieving for that loved one and grieving for the life that you wanted. You know, we don't give enough, and it's in here somewhere, so we're just going to set this guy down for a while. We don't talk enough about the grief that goes on from diagnosis all the way until somebody passes away. We think about grief as being after somebody dies, right? That's when we talk about grief, and that's when you're allowed to grieve. That's when it's normal to grieve. You know when you start grieving? When your kids move out of your house because they're adults. When you move out of your parents' house when you're 18 years old and you're on your own. When you lose a car to an accident or a job to an idiot. That's when you start grieving. We don't talk about grief in the way of what grief really is. When you get a diagnosis. When you get a diagnosis that says the life that you thought you were going to get to live isn't the life that you're going to get to live. That's when you start grieving. And that's when you start grieving for your loved one. So when you find out that your spouse has cancer, they're grieving, but you're grieving. And you're not going to grieve on the same path at the same time because grief doesn't go this way. It doesn't say, okay, I found out. Now I'm ticked off. Now I'm sad. Now I'm this. And now I've accepted it. Yay, here, cheery. Grief says, today I'm going to be, and it's like spinning a wheel. Today I'm going to be ticked off. And I'm going to be mad that this diagnosis happened. And I'm going to be mad that I don't get to go on vacation with you because you're sick. I'm going to be mad that I don't get to go to my grandson's graduation because I need a caregiver to take care of you. But I'm going to be sad that you're going through this. That's what grief does. But then for the person that's been diagnosed, for the person that's sick, I don't get to do what I wanted to do. My life isn't what I wanted it to be. I don't get to work on the cars anymore. I don't get to mow the yard anymore. I don't have the same future that I hoped for. And that grief, it's called anticipatory grief because you're anticipating that final event. But that grief here is some of the most important thing that we can talk about, and we don't. Doctors don't talk to you about it. They say, hey, so I'm sorry, ma'am, you've got a diagnosis of dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's progressive, and the scans don't look good. And they don't even tell you what to expect. See you later. Here, take this pill. Yes, ma'am.
My husband's diagnosis is Parkinson's.
Parkinson's.
Right. So there's the motor as well as the cognitive.
Yes. So her husband's diagnosis is Parkinson's. So Parkinson's that actually presents in 27 different ways, and he does have the tremors. Because some people with Parkinson's, believe it or not, do not. This is what we know. We know the tremors. We know this part, the motor function. What we don't know is Parkinson's can actually have a component where there's no tremors at all, but when you stand up, you fall. There is a very rare type of Parkinson's that'll do that. And so it's a motor function issue. It's a brain disease. It's a disease of the brain. So the brain is the control panel for everything. Our brain controls literally everything we do, right? It is it. So what all does the brain control? When you're hungry, when you sleep, your body temperature, how much you want to drink, your moods. when you have to go to the bathroom, knowing how to go to the bathroom and understanding the feel. Our brain literally controls it all. When we sleep, when we wake up. We talk about that internal clock. How many springs get sprung in the midst of dementia. And then when you're up and you're up every hour, or you can't sleep at night and you're laying there going, sometimes it's because the springs are springing. It is. And so you have a component that affects motor skills and then will also affect cognitive abilities. And so with Parkinson's, you start off here, and as you progress, then the cognition comes into play. And it is a dementia that's Parkinson's induced. So there's 400 different reasons for dementia to exist, over 400. Parkinson's is one of them. And so it's tough. And it probably came on many years ago. Yeah. And so you don't honestly notice things at first. Somebody asked me the other night, do the people that are dealing with these diseases know that? Do people with dementia know that they have dementia? They know first. They just ignore it. No different than you ignore the ache and pain in your back. No different than you ignore other things. They just ignore it because they don't want it. They don't want it to be real. How many times have you ever heard of somebody that had breast cancer, but they knew the lump was there for years? Because they're ignoring it, because they're afraid of the diagnosis. We're so afraid of being told we have something, we will stay away from even checking on it. We're so afraid that we're going to be told, and it's going to be a nail in the coffin. Well, I'm going to tell you, I know somebody very, very dear who, what are we looking at? 9 years ago, was told they had cognitive impairment and went on medication then. And 9 years later are still living and functioning a very, very normal life. So we do know this. We do know that the earlier that you get the diagnosis, the quicker that you seek the treatment. We do know we can't save it, we can't cure it, but we can stave it off. We can stave off the long-term, we can give better years. And so the quicker you go and you get checked, and the quicker you go back and you get rechecked, and you find out from baseline to decline where you're at, the quicker and the better you can get on medications, and you can start managing things. Last thing that people want to do is talk about their own issues, right? We don't like to talk about the fact that we're forgetful. We don't like to talk about the fact that something's going wrong. I said something the other day in an admission, and it's something that's been bothering me for almost a year, is I'm starting to see some hearing loss in myself. I'm starting to see that I'm turning the TV up a little bit louder. And I had never verbally admitted it, but I've been internally fearful that there's something going on. And I know, I study this stuff. I understand that, yeah, there's a good chance that as we age, our hearing diminishes. I know this stuff. And I'm 58. Yeah, I'm 58. I have to think about it. It's like, all right, I'm in there. I'm on the south side of 60 right now. And I don't want to admit that I'm getting older. And so even myself teaching this stuff, I don't want to have to deal with the same things that I know are going to happen. So I'll ignore them. We all ignore what's in front of us all the time until it smacks us in the face so hard that we have to start dealing with it. Now, somebody's going to smack me in the face someday if I go to the doctor and they're like, yeah, you had a long-term ear infection that's now done damage. Okay? And I'm not going to ever sit up here and tell you guys you have to go to the doctor every 6 months and all that and get checked out. And then I'm a hypocrite because I haven't been to the doctor in, I think, 4 years right now. I just don't like them. And so I appreciate people that are like, I don't go to the doctor. And I can tell you, yeah, you should go every 6 months. But I'm also a hypocrite because I'm going to tell you I don't go. So I'm going to be honest with you enough to say that and say, yes, you should get checked out for you. You really should. But I'm also going to be honest enough to tell you, I get it. I understand why you're not going. But are you doing your loved ones any favors? And now I'm preaching to myself. Are you doing your loved ones any favors? Are you really taking care of them when you're not doing it? Are you? Should you be getting your mammogram that was ordered 9 months ago? Huh? So there are things that we can do to help take care of ourselves, and the sooner you get the diagnosis, the quicker and the better you can get some treatments, and the longer, better quality of life you have in the midst of it. Make sense? Let's see what else shows up. Oh, we talked about this. I don't know how Arthur got in the middle of this, but he kind of moved around. So we're back into UTIs, and I call this T-Rex syndrome. My arms are too short, my butt's too big, and I can't get back there and clean things real well. And so I'm sitting here going, I will tell you that one of the best things you will ever get yourself, your aging loved one, and you're going to laugh at me, but the Asians absolutely knew what they were talking about when they put these bidets in that you sit on and they clean for you. I know it sounds terrible if you've not ever used one. You're like, I'm not letting anybody spray a garden hose at my butt. But I will tell you that it will be the best thing you can do. I think everybody should have it, and especially every aged person, because when it bends, it hurts. So I'm not bending my back well enough to get back there and clean. I'm not bending my arm and my shoulder well enough to do the job that I need to do. And if I can get the garden hose to hose things off and get rid of that E. coli bacteria and clean things up down there, I'm saving my skin. I'm saving myself from that UTI. So please consider it. Go to Costco and buy one. Have somebody put it on if you don't know how. Yes.
How do you get them to use it though?
You know,
I was thinking about like just taking the toilet paper out of the.
you don't take the toilet paper away, because even with that and the blow dryer, you still want the paper if you're from here and you've never used one. How do you get somebody to use one? Get the heated ones, for one thing. The seat's warm. Yeah. I'm telling you what, you sit down, you're like, oh. The Costco makes a really good one that you sit on. The seat's heated, the water's warm. Don't use one that's cold water. You want this experience to be the nicest experience it can be for your aged loved one. But I'm very serious. If you can get them to do it once, keep the pressure low. Okay. You're not trying to clean your throat while you're doing it. You're not going reverse up. So keep the pressure low, keep the water at a good temperature. Check in on yourself first, because nobody likes that big surprise. And then I'm serious. They could save lives just because they help us do pericare in a way. And when you think about this, here's the thing. Thought process. Would I rather sit on a toilet by myself and have a garden hose help me out? Or do I want somebody else to be up in my pieces and parts cleaning it? I like the idea of being by myself. I like the idea of sitting down and pushing a button versus saying, honey, can you come? And so if you can do it from that side, this is going to help you remain private and independent. So use the psychology that says we want to maintain our privacy and independence. All of us do. I don't care how old we are. I don't care how young we are. We want to be private. We want to be independent. So when you're giving help, it is not just to help you with your life and your life be easier. It's to help someone else remain private and independent. What's here? Oh, skin tear time. Skin tear time. You know what a skin tear is? How many of you have ever seen or had a skin tear of your own? I unfortunately have very, very thin skin. I'm a thick-skinned person, but I have very thin skin. I do. It's hereditary. It's also because I have an autoimmune and I've taken a lot of steroids in my life, which are inherent for thinning skin. I love the sun. I love the sun, and so I don't protect myself with a bunch of sunscreens and stuff, and I'm out with sleeveless shirts on. So my arms are very thin skinned. So when I work outside, I can tear my skin very easy. My mom tore her skin very easy. My mom was a heavy smoker, so that adds to it. I smoked for years. I don't anymore, but I did. I was raised on a tobacco farm. I was supporting the family income. So skin gets thin as we age. It is a natural process for everyone, but for some of us that have done other things, it's worse. So I think Donna gave them to you. Did you? I don't have one. She didn't give me one. She doesn't like me that well. So on your tables, you have a tissue. It was not for you to blow your nose on, but if you did, we'll give you another one. You have a tissue. Okay? Now, what I want you to do, and we had fun last night. Did you figure it out, Jane? Amy figured it out. Amy figured out what this was. So we put these on tissue last night, and Miss Jane was like, what's that? And I said, you'll find out tomorrow. Amy's like, what's that? You'll find out tomorrow. She told me she figured it out in the night. So I want you to try and take the Band-Aid off. And if anybody can get the Band-Aid off without tearing the skin, the tissue, I want to see it. And then I want to hire you. So, oftentimes, one of the first things we'll do when somebody gets a cut or a tear is we'll go in and we'll throw a Band-Aid on it. And it's because that's what we know to do, right? We throw that Band-Aid on there, and then when we go to take that Band-Aid off, we're ripping it apart. We're tearing the skin. And we're doing more damage than the initial cut was. And unfortunately, it happens all the time. And it happens by doctors. It happens by nurses. It happens by physical therapists. I had a nurse one time with Nelson, who was, I tell people, my non-biological dad. Did you get it off without any?
Because I got it wet.
Oh, you wet it. See how you are. He had a PICC line. He was getting IV antibiotic treatment at home. And the nurse came in to do the PICC line change, and she grabbed that Tegaderm, and she went like that. And it really did do something like that to that man. I heard him cuss like 4 or 5 times in his entire life until he was in advancing dementia, and then a sailor showed up in the house. And he was a World War II Navy vet, so the sailor was allowed to show up, but I had never heard him cuss until that day at someone. And he cussed her because she literally took a chunk of meat out of his arm just by grabbing it. And, we've got that mindset. We've got that mindset. Well, you just rip the Band-Aid off. Isn't that what we're told when we're younger? You rip the Band-Aid off. Get the pain. And with an aged person, we usually rip off skin too. So I'm an advocate of using Coban. That's what you get when you go to have your blood draw done. They'll throw that little 3x3 in there. They'll fold it up. They'll wrap it up with beautiful little blue or yellow or pink or purple or whatever color. Find your favorite color. Keep it on tab. And keep it around. You can wrap other things. They have what's called tube bandages. So if it's fingers and wrist and things, that you can get what's called a tube bandage that then goes over those 4x4s and 3x3s to keep from putting the sticky stuff on the skin. I don't know what's going to come where. We talked about this one at the library, didn't we? So for those of you that weren't at the library, we're gonna talk about this one. So dementia. The way I try to describe what goes on in the brain of someone that has dementia, regardless of what the cause of it is, whether it's Alzheimer's induced, alcohol induced, depression induced, blood sugar induced, Parkinson's induced, frontal temporal lobe, Lewy body, doesn't matter. What we see that happens is initially we start losing our short-term memory. What did I have for breakfast this morning? We start forgetting those things. So the way I try to explain to loved ones and what's going on for their family member is think of your brain as a filing cabinet, right? And it's going to hold all of your memories. And they're going to be filed chronologically, oldest to newest. Some of you people, your drawers are pretty darn deep. Okay? Some of your drawers are pretty darn big. And some younger people, their drawers aren't quite as full, right? So you've got this big, long drawer full of chronological memories. You have this beautiful memory secretary that's up there, and every time something happens, it gets written down on a little piece of paper and goes over and gets filed in the drawer, in the front of the drawer. Newest memory, right? What did I have for breakfast? Bacon and eggs, toast, coffee. Right there in the front of the drawer. Now, give her a second. There you go. Now, a fire starts in the front of the drawer. And nobody tells that memory secretary, hey, can you file somewhere else? Can you go to a different cabinet? Can you find a different drawer? Can you file in the middle? And so that memory secretary takes that memory and she goes over and she throws it in the fire. It's gone. It no longer exists. And somebody asked me yesterday, well, sometimes the memory comes back. So here's the way we do this one. You've seen house fires, right? We all hear about the stories of house fires. I live in California, so unfortunately I hear about a lot of them. And what's the one book that always survives a house fire? Seems to be one of the things everybody comes out and they're holding up their family Bible. And we're like, praise God. And absolutely, praise God. There is fire science behind why a Bible survives. What does a fire need to burn? Oxygen. So you have to have something combustible, the paper. You have to have a flame. There was a flame running around. You have to have oxygen. So if the memories are filed so stinking tight, it's kind of like a phone book also survives, but we don't come running out holding our phone book going, I can call. I can get the plumber's number. We don't do that. We come out with our Bible. And so it's the same fire science behind it. Okay? So the way I can explain why sometimes the memories don't get destroyed is there's just not enough. It's packed in there so tightly that maybe it doesn't burn up completely. And then the next day they can say, you have any of that bacon from yesterday? And you're like, what do you mean? Yesterday you didn't remember you had bacon. Okay? So when you're thinking about why all of a sudden that loved one can remember what you had in 1952 on your first date for dinner, but he can't remember that he ate this morning, that's why. That's why. That memory is getting consumed very quickly. And sometimes there'll be a glimmer of it again. So now how do I explain why one day you can button your shirt and the next day you can't? And I hear this from family members a lot. Well, they're manipulative. Guess what? Nobody's standing in front of you naked with their shirt going cattywampus and crooked because they're trying to manipulate you. That's not what we're doing. So think about your brain, two sides, okay? Inside of here are over 100 billion, it's a crazy number, 100 billion neurons that are firing back and forth. And they have to see each other and they have to talk for you to do literally everything. Believe it or not, there's neurons in there that are going breathe, 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 breathe. Beat, 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 beat. It's happening, okay? Your brain is communicating everything that's going on inside of you. And so these neurons have to see one another. Now start swinging a pendulum. Okay? I can, I can't, I can, I can't, I can, I can't. So yesterday, I could button my shirt. Today, I can't. And the family says, he's manipulating you. He's trying to make you do that for him. No, honey, today he really can't. Today, he really doesn't know how. She really doesn't know how. And it's not because they're playing a game. It's because the pendulum's blocking it. And this disease is unpredictable. This disease does not show up and take the same path for every single person. Matter of fact, it doesn't take the same path for two exact people. Eventually, that fire is going to continue to consume. It's going to continue to burn backwards. Eventually, that fire will take over things of old. And eventually, it will take over body functions. What is the leading cause of death for someone that has dementia? Does anybody know? And it gets put on the death certificate this way, which is, in my mind, not fair. The leading cause of death for someone with dementia will be an aspirated pneumonia. Leading cause of death is pneumonia because we forget how to swallow. Our brain no longer remembers how to swallow. And so be it food, drink, we can't swallow without choking. And when we choke, it goes into our lungs. Once it goes into our lungs, it's a foreign body inside of our lung. And our body develops an infection around it, a pneumonia. And then we succumb to that. So the death certificate very frequently reads, died of pneumonia. Well, what's the cause? What's the cause of the pneumonia? This. We forgot how to swallow. If I'm blind and I walk in front of a car and I meet my demise, I go through my final sunset, the cause of death is going to read blunt force trauma, right? The reality is I died because I was blind and I didn't see the car coming. Okay? It's not their second childhood. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate when people treat adults like they're anything less than adults. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. We will never be once a man, twice a child. That expression is the most dehumanizing expression ever put out there. You do not roll backwards. You do not get to do this twice. So don't live your life with regret. You don't get to go backwards. Live it as a learning experience. Man, I wish I hadn't done that, but boy, I learned a lot. Not, oh, man, I was an idiot. No, nobody's idiots. Everybody's learning. So we are never twice a child. We should never be treated as children. And unfortunately, caregivers will say, can I take you to potty? Can you go work at a daycare? And not an adult daycare? Don't be flying an airplane into my mouth doing a feeding assist. Don't do that. Come on, eat your peas. Don't treat me like that. And God forbid if you ever walk in the room and tell me you're going to change my diaper. I will have the muscle memory to knock your butt on the ground that day. Because I'm not a child. So if I'm not a child, treat me like an adult. If I'm an adult, allow me to make adult decisions. And sometimes my decisions will not be the best decisions. Sometimes I'll make bad decisions. I have a right to. I'm allowed to. You're allowed to. Why do you think, because I need assistance, that I don't have the rights to still be myself? And we do that. Said this, I think, last week when I was teaching. If a kid needs a reminder, they're kids, right? They're just kids. They need to be reminded of stuff. If we need reminders, we're busy. How many people set reminders on their phones? How many people write things down on their calendars? How many people tell their friends, hey, remind me too? If we do it, we're busy. We have calendars that hang on the wall. We write down everybody's birthday. We do all these kind of things to help us remember stuff. The minute a senior says, I forgot to feed the cat last night. Oh, honey, you can't live alone. You can't be on your own anymore. We got to move you. We got to take you to an assisted living. You can't do this. Why? It's okay for us to need reminders, but the minute they do, it's an incapability. Why do we have to view aging as something that makes us incapable instead of something that makes us worth more? That's my biggest issue in the world. We're not going backwards. I would love to have gotten here with my intellect and go back, not quite to here, but maybe to here with the body I had then. Not living back there. I just want the body to show up. I want it here today. I don't want to go backwards. None of us want to go backwards. We want to keep going this direction. And I understand what happens at the end of this direction is our final sunset. I understand that eventually, because of mortality, we're going to leave this earth. And that's okay. That's okay. That's the design. But are you prepared to leave this earth? And when I ask you, are you prepared? Have you done your paperwork? I'm not talking about the potty paperwork. I'm talking about, have you prepared your wishes? Do people know? Do people know whether you want to be resuscitated or not resuscitated? Do they know who gets the fine china and who gets the paper plates? Because if they don't, they're going to fight. And the last and greatest act you can give your loved ones is to make sure that you're prepared for what's eventually going to happen. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about the refrigerator, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I can.
Maybe you were already going to, but that was an aha moment for me the other night.
Okay. And we'll get there. So prepare. The best thing, and she's right, this goes into this preparation. The best thing you can do is make your wishes known. And I'm not doing this to plug book sales, but I am going to plug the book sales just because. All of us will eventually end up in the hospital or something will happen. Most of us, not all of us. And I have seen it happen where people go into a hospital and then they broke a hip. And then they go into skilled nursing and they're there for the 100 days. And they come home and nobody paid the electric bill. They're going to be dismissed. People are trying to get things set up, and we go and we find out, oh my gosh, their electric got shut off 2 months ago. The refrigerator stinks. The freezer stinks, especially for people that don't have family in the area. And we see this stuff. So this one here, it's for when I can no longer, will you please? It literally tells your loved one everything. I took care of my mom. And I didn't know where, I knew who her electric company was. But are you still writing a check and mailing it in every month? Or are you paying it online? And if you're paying it online, how do I get to it? And by golly, how do I even get into your computer? What's your passcode? What's your PIN? How do I get into your cell phone to call your contacts when something bad happens to you? What's your passcode? What's your PIN? I can bring it over and put it in front of your face because most of them have face recognition, but I'd really rather not have to do that. How do I get in to help you? And if you've got loved ones that are helping you, please help them do so. Because there's nothing more maddening than I want to be at my mom's bedside. I want to be at my dad's bedside. I want to be holding my husband's hand. I want to be holding my wife's hand. And what's the password to get into the bank account to check the balance? Oh my gosh, how do I know what's going on? Did their check come? Did it not come? Are they overdrawn? Are they sitting on a bucket of money? I need to know these things at this point. And I'm not saying that you put that information out in the world for everyone to know. You find those trusted people. It's the reason why I separated the two books. This one has those kind of things. Where is my will? Where is my advance directive that says do not resuscitate, resuscitate? And if you don't have those, by golly, why not? Because 20-year-olds need them. And there's not any of us in this room that are 20. So why are we not preparing for the inevitable? Because we think if we don't prepare for it, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. We don't get out of this world alive. And the last greatest act you can do for your loved ones, for yourself, is make sure that you have communicated all of those things. If you're in the house with someone, if it's just you and you have your own wishes and you know what you want, you do not want to be resuscitated. And that's a choice you get to make. Everyone gets to make their own choice. You don't want the paramedics to come rushing in the door, pounding your chest, bringing you back, breaking some ribs, and they're bringing you back at this point for what? Maybe you don't want that, or maybe you're like, you know what? I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished yet. I'm on the south side of 60. I still have a lot to give. I'm on the south side of 80. I still feel good. I still have a lot to give. And yeah, by golly, go ahead and bring me back. It's okay. It's your choice. But if you're not communicating it, who knows what to do? So then I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to come in, and they don't, at that point, in lieu of a legal piece of paperwork, they're going to come in the door and they're going to do what they're called to do. They're going to do what they have to do. And sometimes it's to your detriment. So please, 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 please make sure that that stuff is taken care of, written down, whether you put it in this book or whether you find something else, whether it's a piece of paper. Please communicate. What's the password to pay the electric bill? How do I pay the electric bill? When does it come? Does it come out automatically? Do I have to worry about it? What day is garbage day? When do I take your daggone trash cans down to the curb? That's important, believe it or not. Nobody wants to come home to the fact that the trash cans have been sitting around for the last 120 days while you were in the hospital, had surgery, and went to skilled nursing. And now your trash cans are growing things that nobody wants to talk about. And so we need to know this stuff. Who's the gardener? When do I pay them? Do I have housekeeping? Do I don't have housekeeping? We need to have that stuff communicated. The other one that I have, and I'll stick it to the refrigerator, is the care and feeding instructions of me. I am picky. I have my own set of idiosyncrasies that will drive the world nuts. And I want you to take care of me the way I want to be taken care of. Put me in a bed, cover me to here. I am not happy. Those shoulders aren't under those covers. I'm not sleeping. Put me in a room that's quiet. That's like hell. Thank you. I don't want to live there. Please give me music. Please give me something. I need a fan on me. I have certain allergies to certain laundry detergents. Can you imagine this for just a moment? You've had a stroke. Unfortunately, you can't communicate real well. You're now bedridden. And somebody washes your sheets in a laundry detergent that you're allergic to. And maybe it's not causing this massive rash, but it's just enough that it's irritating the firewater out of you. Or worse, or even equal, it's not that you're allergic to it. You can't stand the smell. Like, I cannot stand the smell of two things. There's several, but two that are big for me. Fabuloso, I think that stuff should be banned from this country. And I know a lot of people use it, and sorry. And Gain. Gain laundry detergent. Those scents are very strong, and they're very unappealing for me. So if you put me in a room, in a bed, you wash my sheets with Gain, and then you come in and clean my baseboards, which I want you to clean, but you clean them with Fabuloso, I'm not happy. You've literally just wrecked my life right there. Those things, while you don't think should be important, are very important. They're very important to how you want to be cared for. How you like your coffee, or if you like coffee. Do you like a Pepsi? Would you rather have a Mountain Dew? Do you not like soda at all? I don't know, but I'm your caregiver. Do you like your food salty? Do you not like it salty? Do you like mushrooms? Onions? I don't know. I'm going to go in here and cook. What do I do? How do I prepare things for you? That's all very, very, very important. And so that one's in the care and feeding instructions of me. Because how you take care of me will always be important. Even if you cannot communicate your preferences, doesn't mean they don't matter. Can we say that again for the people in the back? Even if you can't communicate your preferences, does not mean they don't exist. How you want things done is what makes you you. And we're here to honor you as an individual. So that's important. Now, the refrigerator. Miss Jane wanted me to talk about. Very important. It's a big appliance in your house, right? No. That is the place that almost every paramedic nationally, it's kind of a known thing that your refrigerator, you know why it's the refrigerator? It doesn't move around. You can say, hey, I'm going to put it on this. Well, that may be in a different location next week, depending on how you do your house. Your refrigerator's in the kitchen. So they're going to go to the kitchen and they're going to look. Paramedics have been called, 911's coming to your house. The paramedics rush in. They're there with whoever the affected person is. There will be one medic or one paramedic that will go into that kitchen and look. They're going to look for an advance directive. Do you have that pink piece of paper that pulls physician's order of life-sustaining treatment that says, resuscitate me, don't resuscitate me? Do you have an advance directive hanging there? Do you have a med list hanging there? And the one that I like to tell everybody to do, and it's not like this nationally known thing, is there someone in the home that has dementia? Is there someone in the home that has a diagnosis of dementia? So please understand this. Let's just say you've got a fancy little watch on or a fall detector and you've fallen and you're unconscious and 911 gets called. And your spouse, your partner, your roommate is there. They have dementia. They're sitting in their recliner. They're just hanging out, kind of like they normally would be. Paramedics come rushing in. They don't get all excited about it. Paramedics do their thing. Paramedics pick you up. Paramedics leave. They're sitting there. Then it dawns on them at some point, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes later. Where's Mildred? They don't remember the paramedics were just here. Remember? Memory secretary put that in the fire. And then they go out the front door. And they go wandering. Where's Mildred? Where'd she go? Because they don't remember the events. So please, if someone in your home has dementia, please put a note on the refrigerator. This person, diagnosis, dementia. It works well also if you have a neurodivergent child. If you have somebody who's not going to manage that well, they can't be left alone, or the excitement and the overstimulation is going to leave them over here in a corner until it quietens. And then they're going to be like, no, please call this relative. Do not leave them alone. One of the paramedics will stay behind while they go ahead and get you off to the hospital in the ambulance. Somebody will stay behind until they get a hold of the neighbor or the loved one that can get there. So by all means, please do that. It's just pure safety. There is the thing, they're called vial of life. A lot of times the Red Cross can put them out in their little folders that you can get on your refrigerator. Some people will they don't want their personal information hanging out, put a vial of life on, and then you put it in a sealed container inside the refrigerator. We've seen that. So there are ways you want to communicate these things with paramedics. You really want them to know. When I was a kid growing up, the fire department went around to all the schools and they gave us all little fireman hats, little sticker fireman hats, not to put on our shirt as a pen. They gave them to us and said, please go home and put these on your bedroom windows. We want to know what room the children are in when the house catches on fire. We want to know if this is a bedroom. So we know where to go to from the outside when the house is on fire. And I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But we've never thought, do we do this for our aging loved ones? Do we do this for our neurodivergent children? Do we do this for someone that's wheelchair bound or bedridden? And we need to. We need to be prepared for the worst. We don't want the worst. We don't want to invite it, but we need to always prepare for it. Why do we spend our entire lives comparing ourselves to the other person? By the way, this guy here in the wheelchair, he's the nicest man. He served our country. He was just a genuine guy. This other dude over here, stacked to the hilt, he's got road rage. He's a complete and total jerk. He's beat his wife, abused his kids. But we will look at him and think he has a better life. We will always look at somebody else thinking that they have a better life. The reality is you're here, you're living, you're breathing, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do and the life that you live. So stop comparing yourself to the jerk that you don't know what they're like and start enjoying and appreciating who you are for who you are. And if we could all just do that, it would be great and wonderful. We always think that we're not aging well, we're failures if we don't have the perfect skin, the perfect weight, lots of money, traveling active, great health, and loads of friends. How many of you can check all of those boxes right now and say, I've got them all? You didn't fail. You didn't fail. Those things mean nothing. Those matrices mean nothing. Are you happy? Have you been able to serve others and do with your life the good that you can do? That's it. That's all that matters, and that's all that should matter. But we spend a lifetime comparing ourselves and trying to live up to these matrices that are unattainable. You know, okay, maybe you can get one of those. I got a lot of good friends. I do travel. I will give you that one. I am definitely not the perfect weight. I already told you my skin's thin and I pee myself. I don't have good health. I'm working on it. But am I happy? Am I content? And am I doing what I need to be doing to help other people? And that's all that matters. We're not failures. I hear it all the time. I hear it in our aged community. Because our society, for some odd reason, has decided that aging is a crisis. Aging is not a crisis. Aging is a normal happenstance. It's just part of being alive. Caregiving and the lack thereof and the lack of understanding and healthcare are a crisis. Something that we need to fix. Aging is not a crisis, and it doesn't constitute being a failure. Aging means I've done exactly what I was supposed to do, and I'm still here. Aging means I've lived a good life. Aging is not failing. I will say this, and I think we wrap. I don't know. What time are we wrapping? We got plenty of time. Okay. So I say this. How many of you like to go to antique stores? I love antique stores. I love to walk in and see the metal lunchbox with the little flippy lid and the characters on them and think, oh, I used to carry that. I love to see the things of my youth. I grew up in a home that was filled with antiques. I grew up in a home that had some of the family furniture that was actually brought over from Ireland when our family originated back off the boat. So you know how rich that family was way back then, that they could bring furniture from Ireland over. Well, they didn't retain that wealth. So they just kept the furniture. So I grew up around antiques and I love them. I love to go to antique stores. I love to see older things. Most people do. There are stores in every town I go to. There are antique stores. There are thrift stores. There are things. They're there. We have the Antique Road Show. It's been a show on TV for how long? We love old things till they walk and breathe. And our culture said, put them over here and let's go on and make our money over here. Our culture said you're not as valuable because you've aged and you're walking and breathing. But I'm going to go to the antique store. Hey, Grandma, I'm going to put you in a nursing home, and I'm going to go to the antique store on Sunday and look at the stuff that was in your house before I moved you to the assisted living. Happens all the time. We'll go to car shows. How many of us like older cars? Go into car shows. Yeah, check them out. I will tell anybody and everybody, our aging community is the walking, living, breathing classic cars of humanity. You are more valuable than the most valuable classic car. And you have to walk in that. Don't let society beat you down and make you feel less because you are older. You're a priceless commodity that we need to begin and start appreciating again. And we need to recognize the humanity that is there and the wisdom that's there. Your history books. You guys have lived through way more things than I have. And I've lived through a lot. And I love nothing more than to sit and listen to history. I can read about it all day long. Reading about it is good. It's informational. Hearing it is an experience. And I like experiencing life. So tell your stories. Tell them often, tell them frequently, tell them to everyone that will listen, because somebody will appreciate it. I promise you. I was fortunate enough in this career path to have worked with the woman who was at Pearl Harbor on the day. She was a nurse in the Navy. And back then, nurses weren't allowed on ship. But she was supposed to be working triage that night in the nurses' station. She was supposed to be on shift. She wasn't. She was having a fling with the island boys. She was overdoing the horizontal mamba. And the bombs hit. And the attack hit. And she got there. And she triaged people. And she helped them. And she told me the stories. And she didn't tell me the stories like I was reading a history book. She told me the stories from the experience and the smells and the sounds. She told me what it was like to be there. Nothing will change that for me. For me, it was like being there myself. For me, hearing it was an experience. It wasn't reading it. I read it in history books when I was a kid. So tell your stories, because that's what we need. And don't let anybody stop you from doing it. Please. How history got brought down was through the storytellers, right? That's how we have it, before we had the written word. I say this so many times. Every one of us in this room lived through 9/11. And every one of us can tell it with emotion. Every one of us can tell that story of where we were at, how it made us feel, with the emotions of that day. And that's valuable. That is a valuable commodity that nobody will ever be able to take away. So please share those stories. And if you don't think it's important, you don't think anybody wants to listen, I would literally give you anything to have recordings of my grandmother telling her stories of running the cream station and her father running the blacksmith shop. I would give anything to hear that in recorded message. So take the time with these newfangled pieces of equipment that are standing here looking at me, and pull it up and hit that voice recorder and start recording and leave that legacy and those stories behind for your loved ones. Because while you don't think they care, I promise you they do. My mom passed away 6 years ago. Open up my phone and I guarantee you will find voicemail after voicemail that has my mom on them. She's been gone for 6 years, and I keep those voicemails because there's lots of times I'll just pull it up and just listen to her because I just want to hear it again. So don't ever discount your own value because you don't feel like the people around you have enough time for you. The world's dragging them away. But when you're gone, they're going to want nothing more than the time that they missed. And I know that. There's our antique stores. Some of us have been rode hard and put away wet. Some of us we've seen our better days. Some of us have a little rust under the fenders. Some of us have a few more miles. That means there's a few more stories in this car than maybe that car. That car looks like it was garage kept for me. So if I'm going to run out and listen to the history books, I'm going to go find the rugged car. I want to know where you've driven. I want to see the miles on that. I want to hear your story. So please be willing to share it. And please, if you're a caregiver or a loved one, be willing to sit and listen. Because the biggest gift you can give your loved ones is time. The biggest gift you can give them is the time to sit down and just listen and just hear and absorb. And I can promise you, the day is going to come when we're all going to see our final sunset. We're not going to live on this earth anymore. And those stories are going to be so important for someone else to remember. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
It isn't really a question, but I volunteer at a thrift shop, and I sort the books that are donated.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot believe
Money.
how many of these come in, tell me your story, these little books, and they're blank. couple that are for grandpa, not just grandma. And I got several of these from my daughter, and I said, don't send me any more. Well, she said, I didn't get any back. And I said, you won't get any back. And she said, well, Mom, I want to know. And I said, when I tried to tell you, you didn't want to know. But she said, now I do. So when their lives get not quite so complicated, then they start to think and remember, and maybe I do want to know what it was like when you were growing up.
Very good point, Mary. So what she's saying basically is she's been gifted all of these books and she wasn't filling them out because she didn't see the value. If you didn't listen to my stories, why am I going to write them out for you? And now what she's realizing is that the kids that are giving you those books are saying, hey, I really do want to know. Okay? And please hear me in this. As much as none of us in this room want to think about our own demise, there's not anybody in this room that wants to say, yep, I'm ready to go. I mean, we can be ready to go on an emotional level, a spiritual level, maybe financial, maybe you planned it all out. But none of us are ready for that day to hit. We're just not. Our loved ones aren't ready either. So when they're...
It's as you get older, it's harder to write cursive, and the younger generation doesn't read cursive.
You got that right, because they quit teaching that little skill. So as we get older, and that's something that these books aren't good for, and that's why I suggested using a camera and using a recorder, even if it's just a voice recorder. As we get older, Arthur comes to visit sometimes, and it's not as easy to write, and carpal tunnel and all kinds of things come into play. And I will tell you, somebody told me this about writing. You can get writer's block, but you rarely get speaker's block. So sitting with a recorder, and just recording. I remember my favorite great aunt and uncle were down one year, and I had just gotten a cassette recorder, and I put it on the table. And it was my grandmother and my mother and Uncle Jimmy and Aunt Rosie and Butch and myself. I was the kid that always stayed in with the big adults while all the other kids played because I just wanted to listen. And I have those recordings. You couldn't offer me $1 million for me to hand those over to you. You could not offer me anything. So I'm serious. Instead of writing it for Mary, just sit down and record it. And I know you would much rather have her face to face, but put her picture on that and just talk to her. Just talk to her and say, hey, and I don't know what your daughter's name is. These are the stories you want to know. And hit record on that phone. And it will keep that voice memo for you. Please do that, even if you don't think they care. I promise you, when you're gone is when it hits. None of us think we're losing our loved ones until the day we look around and they're not there. And I cannot tell you how many times over the last 6 years, I have literally picked up my phone to call my mother. I have literally picked up my phone to ask her a question. Because my mom was the history book of our community. If it happened in the town that I was raised in, she knew everybody's business all the time. And she knew who was related to who. And so I'll see these things on Facebook. You might be from Carrollton, Kentucky, and it'll say, you knew so-and-so. And I'm like, Mom. And what I would give, and I did, I bought my mom a video recorder. And I said, please, go around the house and tell me the stories of the antiques. Go around the house and tell me this stuff. And I listened. I did. I sat at the table and I listened and I absorbed. But I don't remember everything that she did. And I don't remember every story that she told. And more importantly, I want to hear her voice. More importantly, I just want to hear her laugh. I just want to hear those things. So do that for your loved one. It's one of the greatest legacies you'll ever give them. And like I said, you may not think it matters to them now. But when that final chapter's done, that sunset happens, it will be the greatest gift you'll give them. It really will. How many of you would give your right arm to hear your mom speak? Your dad, somebody important to you. How many of you would give it to them without them even knowing it? I have boxes in my safe that I have for my kids. I've already written them all letters. I'm not planning on going anywhere, but I know when I do, I want them to know how much I cared. It's part of what I want to do to prepare for them. And I do work in a field that deals with final sunsets all the time, so it's easy for me to be prepared for it. It's easy for me to say that you do these things. I'm not going to get out of this world alive. I'm not leaving here alive. So I want them to know when I'm gone how important they were for me and to me, even if there's a fractured relationship, because that may be exactly what they need to be able to move on. It may be exactly what they need to know that they don't have to spend the rest of their life in regret. Just that simple, hey, I always loved you. Period. So do that for your loved ones. That's part of being prepared for what inevitably is going to happen. Anything else?
I have a question. It's kind of just a personal question.
Sure.
When my husband, who also has a little bit of dementia with his Parkinson's disease, and he says something to me that is absurd or completely out of it, how do I respond so I'm not putting him down, but I'm trying to help him to understand?
Excellent question. So she wants to know her husband has some dementia going on with his Parkinson's, and sometimes he says things that are absolutely and completely absurd. How does she respond? One of the things that I hear the most, especially from our jealous men, is they like to accuse their wives of having affairs. They're 85 years old. Last thing they want to do is have another man in their life tell them that they have to pick up after. But a lot of times I hear that. I hear where these men are accusing or thinking that their wives are having affairs, or they're saying things that are completely off the wall. They're looking through their phones and they're going, who's this phone number? Why did you talk to him? And so these accusations cause all of this clash of all of these things. And now we're fighting and battling. I am not having an affair, you idiot. You know I wouldn't do that. Or, no, I didn't do this, or no, I didn't do that. It's completely absurd. Okay, one thing you can't do is fight brain damage with logic. Okay, so when you have dementia, you have brain damage, right? It doesn't matter. You cannot combat brain damage with logic because it doesn't make sense. What I feel inside, what I know inside is what is real. And telling me anything different doesn't work. So, did you raise children?
Yes.
When you corrected your teenagers, what did they do?
Sometimes walked away or so.
They defended themselves.
Right.
When you correct anyone, the natural response is they're going to defend themselves. Okay? So when you're saying that's not true, the first thing you're going to get is it is. Yes, it is. So they're going to defend whatever they believe to be the truth at that moment. And so a lot of times it's, you stole my silverware. We hear that one a lot. We do. You took this, you took that. I understand you can't find it right now. Let me help you find that. Not, no, I didn't. I would never steal from you, Mom. Why do you think I would steal from you? I have never taken a thing. I am the good kid. It might be my sister that would do something like that. So we want to defend ourselves because we've had an accusation against us. Why do you think I'm having an affair? I would never have an affair. I've never had an affair. That was you jerk. You're just, where we do. We want to defend ourselves. And I'm telling you, the last thing you can do is defend yourself. You have to know who you are inside yourself well enough to know that that accusation doesn't hurt because it's coming from brain damage. It's not coming from the heart. That accusation's coming from something that's not real. It's not coming from here. And so you just say, honey, he's a friend. That's it. There's nothing there. He's helping do some things. That's it. It's just somebody that I met at the grocery store. There's nothing going on. I promise. I love you. Because what they're looking for when they're accusing you of having an affair is the validation that your relationship is more important than that relationship that they think is there. They're looking for validation. They're looking for you to reassure them. It's no different than if an 85-year-old woman who has dementia or 85-year-old man who has dementia says, is mom coming over? Well, you know, if you're 85 years old, more than likely mom or dad's already gone, right? What are you looking for? You're looking for that feeling that that relationship brings you. You're looking for that security and that comfort of that relationship. Maybe not the person. So there's Naomi File, who passed away. She passed away like 4 or 5 years ago, and she was 90, I think 97 when she passed away. She had the validation theory. I was fortunate enough to get to hear her speak when she was 94, and then she talked about older people, and I'm like, okay, how much older do we get? But anyway, she had the validation theory, and what she authored that, and what she said was, when you're asking for someone, when you're speaking about someone, it's because you're looking for that feeling, and that needs to be validated. And I totally agree. So if I'm asking for my loved one who we all know isn't there, it's I know you're missing it. You'll see him soon. Validate that feeling of missing. Validate that fact that, what did you guys used to do together? What would you have had for dinner tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Validate feeling of what?
Validate the feeling of that person's presence in their life. So if they're asking for their mom, lots of times they're just looking for that nurturing, loving feeling, not necessarily for the person themselves. If that makes sense. So validate that is a real expectation. It's something we all want. We all want to feel that belonging. You know, lots and lots and lots of times, and especially in a community like this, we'll hear, I want to go home. I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. And this is the way I liken it. I work from home. My office is in my house, in the place that I go to bed every night. Okay? My commute time is amazing. Sometimes the traffic gets really overwhelming because I have 3 dogs and they like to get in the way. And they're always doing yoga, the downward facing dog in front of me. And so it takes me a little while to get to the office. But I work from home. And about 5 o'clock every afternoon, 5, 6 o'clock, I'm sitting in the office every afternoon. I have an overwhelming feeling of I want to go home. What? I'm in my house. But I want to go home. I want to go to that place of rest. It's not a change of location. It's a change of feeling. So a lot of times what we hear from our loved ones when we put them into an assisted living or into a community is they want to go home. They're not necessarily looking for a location as much as they're looking for a feeling inside of themselves. That feeling of peace, that feeling of calm, and that feeling of rest that comes with being home. How many of you have said, I'm going home for Christmas? You pack your bag out of your house, you get on a plane, and you go to someone else's house. I did it for years. I moved to California, but home was Kentucky. Where do I live? I live in California. That's where my home is. But going home for me was a sense of going to where I was from. It was going to where I felt secure. It was going to a place I felt needed and belonging and security. So home doesn't always mean this physical building that I lived in. It's a feeling that I'm looking for. And I think far too often in our communities, we oftentimes hear, I want to go home, and we think, well, honey, you can't go there anymore. They sold your house. And that opens up a whole other ball of wax. That opens up a whole other can of worms. Why are we doing that? How do we make you feel at home here? How do we give you that feeling of peace and security and belonging here so that we can get rid of that feeling that's, I don't belong? That's all home is for most of us. It's not 4 walls and a roof. It's a feeling of belonging and a feeling of being valued. And if we can give you that, then we can take away the anxiety and the anticipation over here. So with that, you don't argue back, because all you're doing is putting the person on the defense. You know, somebody walked in right now from the memory unit and said, built this in 1892. Well, his wife or family member would say, Harvey, you did not build this. You don't even know which end of a hammer to swing. You couldn't build anything. And he's going to defend himself. And a fight's going to ensue. And then we're going to hear, he's combative. No, he is not combative. You're not relating to him right. My gosh, you did a great job. This is beautiful. You did really good work. Puffs up the chest, pat on the back. He's happy. Life goes on. They're looking for validation, feelings of belonging, feelings of being valued. We all want purpose. Every person in this room wants to feel like you have a purpose. The minute you don't feel like you have a purpose, why? So what we're looking for oftentimes is just that feeling of worthiness and belonging. And so when I validate that with you, then you're good. You're good. You're happy. I'm happy. We're not arguing. Make sense?